Martin Scorsese's new movie Killers of the Flower Moon is currently filming as we speak. The Western will be his first film starring both Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, and will tell this story, the true story of a shocking murder spree that occurred in Oklahoma in the 1920s. Whilst being set in Oklahoma, the film is also being shot in Oklahoma, and a few images here and there have been popping up over the weeks. The first official shot of the film showcased Leonardo DiCaprio and Lily Gladstone in character, and then we got a few set images which included Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese during filming. Check out some of my previous videos for more details. We've got some new peeks at the set as well, not many, but a few photos here and there that I found interesting. My initial takeaway is that this looks like an absolute mammoth production, similar to Scorsese's Gangs of New York, with huge sets being built around Oklahoma to recreate the time period and setting. This image here gives you a rough idea of what kind of production this film is. There must be more than 30 vintage cars here. There might be replicas, of course, models, or maybe even the real deal, but we've got the entire street transformed, horses, carts, and dozens of extras. Huge blue screens have been placed at either side of the street, so it looks like the street is the main set for some scenes, with the background being digitally inserted. And that's pretty much the optimum way to do it, I think, especially in the modern day. Use practical effects and sets wherever possible, and enhance using CGI. This image here looks like they're actually filming a scene, unless the extras have gone rogue and started an underground racing tournament. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. No scene from the book springs to mind here, but of course there's a lot of room with the book to play around with. I think this shot is connected to the previous, with everything being set up in that one and them actually filming in this one. But again, it reiterates the scale and level of the production. The book isn't exactly an epic, but they're really going all out here with the time period. The hundreds of extras, all in costume, the cars, the buildings, even the dirt on the road was something they brought into the shoot and laid out on the ground to give it an authentic feel. Here's another image, another of Leonardo DiCaprio in costume as his character Ernest Burkhart, protecting himself from the rain with an umbrella. And here's another image with some Native American actors looking dapper in their cool as heck suits. I'm not familiar with the actors, so I'm not sure whether these guys are part of the main cast or are background extras, but those are some cool looking suits. Here's another image, again with DiCaprio. The boom mic and what looks like a film camera behind DiCaprio suggests they're either prepping for a shot, finishing a shot, or actually shooting. Now, that's a train, that's an actual train. In this day and age, if you're lucky enough to shoot out on location and you want a bloody train going past the camera, your studio execs are going to tell you to hush up, prop up a little green screen, and hope that your boys in the computer-generated effects department are up to scratch. But they're actually lifting what looks like a fully working vintage train into the shoot. I think we can definitely see from these images where some of that $200 million they're spending on this picture is going. Am I right, lads? Couple of extras hanging about on the train here. There is actually a small but significant part of the book set on a train. Someone actually gets pushed off one. When you look at it from the side with this wide angle, it really makes you appreciate all the mechanical details, doesn't it? Look at all those intricate mechanisms, the wheels, the dirt. Rodrigo Prieto, the film's cinematographer, also shared a short clip on his Instagram page where he showcased the crew using what looks like a vintage camera from the time period. The crew member had his finger in the thing and was twirling it around manually. Scorsese must have been like an excited schoolboy on a field trip when they hauled this thing into the shoot. I guess they're wanting to get some authentic looking film footage from the era. By the way, one of my subscribers spotted a film camera and let me know via email, so it looks like, in case you're wondering, Killers of the Flower Moon will be shot on film, or at least most of it, which is really important in my opinion, because when it comes to period films, they definitely look better shot on film rather than digital. And people who live around the area, hey, maybe you're one of them, let us know what's going on in the comments down below. But people around the shoot have said that they've transformed two cities. They've got a huge arsenal of cars going through the streets. The roads look old and weathered. It looks like they are really going absolutely all out. And then you have the fact that they're filming where the events took place. They're using an authentic Native American cast. They've got the backing and support of the Osage community. I mean, you really can't get more authentic than that. It's really interesting seeing these images and knowing that this is a huge film production, because I remember there being talk that after The Irishman, which again was a long and complex shoot, Scorsese would quickly squeeze in the filming of Killers of the Flower Moon in between The Irishman and Devil in the White City. Well, it looks like he isn't making White City anymore, and Killers of the Flower Moon definitely isn't some small shoot. It's set to be the longest of Scorsese's career, and the film is the director's most expensive. Personally, I think it's wonderful that they're going down this route. Scorsese is no stranger to CGI in the 21st century. There was that awkward elephant scene in Gangs of New York, which I think is his first proper use, his first full-on use of digital effects. And it didn't look great, especially in a film with some insane sets. To be fair, he wanted a real elephant brought in, but I remember there being complications. Since then, he's gotten real familiar with CGI. The Aviator was full of it, to create these scenes of planes flying in the air and stuff. The Departed, not so much, aside from some really poor CGI blood. Shutter Island actually had a lot of CGI, a lot of the backgrounds were green screens and stuff, but I thought the special effects were great in that film, and you don't really notice. Hugo was also a special effects heavy film. There's a huge amount of digital effects, which made it Scorsese's most expensive film at the time. But it's got a kind of fantasy feel about it, so the look of the film does fit, and I personally really enjoyed the way this movie looks. The Wolf of Wall Street had a lot of CGI. There was the boat scene, the helicopter scene, and a lot of the background in many places was touched up and moved around. I thought The Wolf of Wall Street was a bit excessive in its use of digital effects, and in a lot of places it was just unnecessary. If you look at the makings of the film, you can see that they used CGI in places where you kind of think to yourself, was this really necessary? And it's just one of those things where the mind can tell there's something up with the backgrounds and they look fake. Sometimes the lighting and the color grading looks artificial, but I suppose in a way it adds to the movie's theme of excess. Silence, a film shot on location, had minimal use of CGI, if any, and I didn't notice any, and I'm sure that was a contribution to this being one of Scorsese's best looking movies. And then there's The Irishman, a film drowning in CGI, whether it be backgrounds or the state-of-the-art de-aging technology from Industrial Light and Magic to make the actors look younger. So when it was announced that Scorsese would be making Killers of the Flower Moon, I thought to myself, I wonder which Scorsese is going to turn up. Will it be the Gangs of New York Scorsese, who is insistent on building these huge sets, even though the likes of George Lucas visited him and said that you could do these things on computers now? Or would it be the Scorsese of recent times, who's grown comfortable with heavy use of CGI? Would Killers of the Flower Moon be filled with green screens, CGI trains and horses? With the talk of the huge budget, that could have meant a lot of money precisely for digital effects. By looking at these images, I'm not saying all the $200 million is going into the production design, but it sure looks good so far, doesn't it? And it's funny really, because Scorsese was part of the Hollywood New Wave back in the 60s and 70s, where film directors were given money and power to make their own films. Now we live in a time where the studios have all the power, and directors often have to turn to streaming platforms to get their movies made, as Scorsese did with The Irishman. And he's got his fair share of criticism to make of streaming as well, Scorsese does, with the whole idea of algorithms and content as opposed to creativeness, expression and great films. But it's those very same streaming companies which have given Martin Scorsese a platform to continue making his great works, so that he doesn't have to sign on as the director of, Iron Man 4. But the funny thing is, there's no time in history, even back in the New Wave, where Scorsese would have been given $200 million to make a film. So in many ways, amid the lamentation of cinema and creative filmmaking, Scorsese has never had it as good as he does now by teaming up with these streaming companies. Maybe he considers it a necessary evil, but I wonder if it's a case of him being willing to compromise and, using a lot of digital effects for Killers of the Flower Moon, CGI trains and backgrounds and stuff, but he's in a position where a streaming platform who are looking to make a name for themselves and are willing to throw money at him, so he's utilized this opportunity to make the film in the manner he wants to make it, with real trains and real locations. It's a similar situation to The Irishman, and I know a lot of people are pissed off that it came out on Netflix, but like I mentioned in the past, if it wasn't made by Netflix, it wouldn't have been made at all. And again, some people are complaining that Scorsese has lost the plot here, that you don't need $200 million to make a Western, which is obviously true. There's better uses for money, and that is a bigger budget than a lot of superhero movies out there. But when someone offers, someone that is one of the richest companies in the world, why wouldn't you take the money and run? And go to town and go all out with your production? Isn't this exactly what film fans were complaining about? That all these expensive, shitty Hollywood blockbusters are crap, and that money should be given to the authors of Hollywood. And here we are seeing that happen, and people are now again complaining, oh, it's too much money. Anyway, I'm starting to waffle. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you want to see more, and thanks for watching.